Patents are useless if you're building a software startup. Think of some of the biggest innovations that software startups have given. TikTok's infinite scrolling, no patent. Netflix recommendation algorithm, not patented. Snapchat stories, no patent. Snapchat was pretty much built on this stories idea, and a few years later, Instagram essentially stole this feature and called it Stories too. So why didn't they file a patent? Could a patent have stopped Facebook from copying this? The answer is no, but I'll get to that. I learned about this the hard way too, so let me explain why patents are not what you think. So when we started Slidebean back in 2014, we had this radical, or so we thought, idea for a presentation builder. We would let people write a presentation without the distraction of the design, and then we would generate the design automatically. Presentations that design themselves, we called it. And the first thing that we did is file for a patent. Woohoo! Well, not really. We filed a provisional application for a patent, or a patent pending, which is the biggest fallacy in this IP world. I see this in pitch decks a lot. Oh, we have a patent pending. Unless that's an actually granted and filed patent, it's not really worth anything. A provisional literally costs like $200 to file online, with the idea that you have 12 months to convert that temporary filing into a real patent. But reality check came a few weeks later when we spoke to our legal team. So they brought their $800 an hour IP expert to tell us that there was nothing that we could really patent.
There is nothing you could really patent.
This content and design separation idea was just too abstract to patent. Okay, so what about the algorithm? Well, if someone built a platform that did the exact same thing, but just use a different code, different algorithm to solve it, as someone probably would, then the patent would just be unenforceable. Okay, so what about the interface? Well, the only way a UI patent would be enforceable is if someone built an exact visual replica of our solution. Moreover, converting my $199 provisional patent to a real patent would cost starting at $10,000, assuming there are no conflicts, issues, or refiling needed. Also, it would take months, maybe years. And as part of the process, we would also have to search through thousands, tens of thousands of other patents to ensure that we're not infringing on any one of them. And finally, if we ever found someone infringing our patent, we could sue them only on the damages, meaning the money that we lost because of their infringement. And of course, we would have to prove this in court through a process that starts at $1 million and usually costs closer to $4 million in legal fees. And I remember sitting down with my co-founders, first wiping over the $800 that we had just wasted, and then just giving up on this whole patent idea, deleting the patent pending stuff from the pitch deck too. There's no arguing that patents are crucial for hardware companies, for bioscience, for medicine, so I'm not even gonna touch on that. We're talking about software companies here, but for example, Microsoft, that's a mostly software company, has 107,000 patents. So there must be some reason to file them, right? And what kind of startups should use one? In essence, beyond the legal requirements of format and jurisdiction, a patent needs to meet three main criteria: novelty, inventive, and utility. In other words, no, you can't patent an idea. You can't patent a software platform. It's more about a specific technical solution to a specific technical problem. But let me give you some real-world examples of patentable and not patentable inventions. For example, a patent was given to these guys in Germany for inventing MP3 compression, but JPEG compression, on the other hand, was not patentable. This is mainly because JPEG didn't tick the inventive requirement. MP3's whole deal is separating the audio in frequencies and compressing each of these separately based on what we can hear. JPEG, on the other hand, just used existing, well-known algorithms for the compression. Another good example is Google's original PageRank algorithm, which sorted pages on a search engine based on the links that point to that page rather than the content of the page. And this patent is the backbone of how Google works even to this day. And it ticks all the checks, and so the patent was granted for Google. But in the 20-year protection that the patent provided, Google never sued anyone for patent infringement, even though other search engines that appeared and were started during that time also used backlinks as one of the methods to rank pages. Other companies built engines that used obviously different code, but also different algorithms, different weights, different mathematical models to achieve somewhat the same thing, just with a different approach. And filing and publishing the patent revealed Google's approach, and you could argue that it's what gave other companies inspiration to use links as a method for ranking pages and to develop algorithms on their own, but not close enough that Google even bothered to prove infringement. Last example here is Amazon's one-click buy-in. Amazon was actually granted a patent for one-click buy-in in 1997, And it worked. The idea was to have a single buy now button that would use stored credit card and shipping information. And this was 100% novelty and useful and non-obvious in 1997. And the patent touches on how cookies are used to maintain the session state and collecting data and on sending email confirmations. And Apple actually paid Amazon to license their tech and use it on the iTunes Store. Barnes & Noble launched the Express Lane feature in '99, and they got slapped with a lawsuit by Amazon that was eventually settled out of court. This is a great example of a software patent that did force companies like PayPal and eBay and Google to add 2 or more steps to their checkout experiences to avoid infringing Apple's one-click buy patent, at least until 2017, when it expired, and now everyone can do it. It's one of very few successful software patents that have actually worked to protect something. And that gets us back to the Snapchat and to the Instagram story and why they didn't patent stories. Because to me, this feature may look a little bit like the one-click Amazon patent, which was granted, so why not this one? Well, reportedly, Snapchat tried to file a patent for it, but they couldn't fulfill the requirements, probably because it wasn't novel enough or because it didn't fit the non-obvious, the inventive requirement. And that's such a crucial aspect of this whole mess, because it's not just about inventing, it's about building a case for novelty, for the inventiveness, having a legal team that's good enough to actually get the patent through, which means having the money for it. And this is what allowed Facebook to eventually steal the feature using their own code and their own implementation. And these are the kinds of stories that would make you think that a patent is necessary before launching anything, before running a company. But the bar is really, really high on software inventions. And even if you get one, you would need millions of dollars and years of litigation in order to maybe be able to enforce it before it expires. And investors, of course, know this. There are types of software startups whose value really depends on the patents or on the potential acquisition value of all this patent portfolio, rather than the assumption that they're going to litigate and win the trial. And if that's the case, then ideally the founders should have the experience navigating IP law, and the legal team in charge should become a crucial part of the pitch. But for the rest of us, and that is the majority of us, patents can end up just being a distraction or honestly a rookie mistake on the pitch deck. So in a nutshell, here are some things that you probably will not be able to patent. On the software side, abstract ideas, basic algorithms or basic data processing methods, business methods or business models, basic user interfaces or experiences or navigation methods, data organization methods for databases, at least if they're very basic, software implementation for known processes, or standard mobile app functionality, and standard encryption methods. None of that stuff is probably patentable. Software starters that might be patentable are very unique algorithms, for example, for compression or encrypting or managing data at scale. Or on the user interface side, gesture recognition or augmented reality. Many of Microsoft and Meta's patents revolve around this stuff. And this was not obvious for 2014 me, and nobody had told me about it. But if you want to learn more about that stuff and not make the same mistakes, you know what to do about that subscribe button. See you on the next one.